Aaron B is a character who I am still pretty ambivalent or uneven about. I'm just not sure how I feel about him. Okay, I'm so curious to hear your thoughts, Julie, because since the first episode, I've just been a little bit unsure about him. Something about him to me feels a little bit inauthentic or maybe like a little like manufactured to me. And I still felt that way on this date. They like visited the Hollywood sign. They like sat on like an old vintage car and like looked at the sign and went to like an old Hollywood style evening date. It was very cute and romantic. I don't know. I thought that they were cute together, but it just felt a little bit forced to me. What did you think about it, Julie?
Yeah, he definitely is not doing himself any favors of like the coin toss thing. You can tell that he thought about that before he even got on the plane to meet Charity. And that's an element of kind of like, you're right, he is forcing it, or he's trying to create magical moments, which is so funny because by the very nature of the show, magical moments are always being manufactured. Like you always have this like really big element of fanfare. And so he doesn't need to kind of like white knuckle his way through it. I do like parts of his personality, at least what he's shown so far. Like I really liked when they had their date and he was kind of speaking about therapy. It's great that it's being so normalized now, and I love that he was able to own up to really crappy toxic behavior he did in the past.
I was in a 4-year relationship during college while I was playing football, and you know, I wasn't the best boyfriend at all. I struggled with active listening. I struggled with communication, and it's something that I messed up. You know, with that being said, I did want to go get better, so I did check into therapy. It was hard. I had a lot of pride. Like, you know, there's a lot of pride with me, but
I think that was a really good showing of accountability, and I think it's even more attractive to someone like Charity, who is a therapist and who values this kind of like reflection in her partners. So I thought that was really cool, and I think that was a cool moment for like the Bachelor audience to kind of see that just because you used to exhibit toxic traits or you were not like the greatest partner in the past, that doesn't define you for the rest of your life. You can still receive love, you can still be on the path to love, and people can still root for you in your journey. That's kind of what Aaron B represents to me, but who he is as a person, who he is as like Charity's match is very much still up in the air for me.
Yeah, I agree that I loved the evening portion where he opened up about that, his experience with therapy, and about his experience kind of just being a bad partner to his, I think he was talking about like his like high school girlfriend or college girlfriend, something like that. He was talking about how he wasn't like a great listener and how he wasn't great at communicating. And so that's what prompted him to go to therapy. I really, really like that element of being able to acknowledge how he was contributing to the problems in that relationship. So that was something that I really, really liked about him, and I appreciated him. You know, it's just so common on this show. People often come on and are like, my ex was so horrible. I've been through so many bad relationships. And like, it's less common for someone to come in and be like, I kind of sucked in my past relationships and I'm trying to work on that. So I did actually really appreciate that he brought that up and came in with that angle and that kind of ownership of his own, you know, areas for growth. I think that's something that all of us can really take a lesson from, and is a really good quality to try to bring into, you know, all of our interactions. We don't have anything to prove. We don't need to be like, I am 100% the perfect partner, because no one is. None of us are. We all have things to work on, and I appreciated that Aaron B is not, even though he actually said, he's like, I have a lot of pride, and it was like hard for me to go to therapy, and that was like something that I struggled with. Like, he talked about that, and yet I did appreciate that he was still like open to talking about, at the same time, like, I did suck, and so I did need to, like, that to me is the true mark of confidence, just being able to acknowledge your like missteps. I think that's a true mark of like, I'm not afraid of my mistakes, or like my mistakes don't define me, and I understand that I am inherently worthy anyway, and I'm working on improving in XYZ areas. So I actually did really appreciate that about him. I think you're right. Okay, now that you said that, I guess now maybe I am like a little warmer on him.
Have I convinced you?
Maybe a little bit. Okay, let me tell you the thing that made me skeptical about him. I in the first episode, it did, like, I felt like he was just a little bit gimmicky, or like he was, you know, the coin flip, the song, like playing the piano for her, like those parts felt a little bit, I don't know, it just felt like he was just trying to do things to seem cool and suave, and so I wasn't super into him. And it wasn't that I thought he was a bad guy, I just felt like I didn't get a good sense of his personality, other than I am the kind of guy who does things to be liked, and I am the kind of guy who does things that I think will make people like me. That's the only thing I really got out of him from that first date. And even in the beginning portion of this one-on-one date, when they were at the Hollywood sign and driving in the car, those portions of it, I did just get a sense of, he just kept, everything that came out of his mouth was just like, I'm positive, I'm saying the thing that I think is gonna make you feel like I'm cool. Like, it just felt like he kept saying things that were, it was like fluff. Everything he said felt like fluff to me. It was all like fluffy things intended to make him seem likable. And it's funny, like, people do that, of course, so people will like them, but to me it always just comes off as like ingenuine and makes me like them less, because I just feel like I'm not seeing their true personality when people are trying so hard to be like a certain persona. And so for Aaron B, currently right now, I still feel like I don't have a sense of what he's really like, because I just feel like all we're really getting from him is what he thinks people want to see from him. And it makes me wonder if he is in touch with himself in a authentic way. Like, it sounds like he's worked through some of his relationship problems in therapy, but I wonder if, like, to me it felt like watching their date, it felt so high school to me. Like, the beginning part of it, the evening part, I agree with you, I liked it a lot, but the beginning part of it felt very high school, in the sense of like just watching two people just trying to say the right thing. And I don't know, I just kept thinking, like, Aaron, you're 30. You don't need to, like, you can have your own personality now. You don't just have to say all the right things to be, like, popular. You can just do whatever you want. You can just be yourself. And I feel like that's the thing that I'm wanting to see more of from Aaron B. But anyways, it's not that I dislike him. I just feel, I just want to see more of who he really is. That was my main read on him so far.
And that's a very valid take, because I do agree that Aaron, to me, feels really practiced. Like, he doesn't...
Yes.
He's not the most vulnerable person. And I think everything he's disclosing is intentionally scaffolding him in a really particular light. He's like, I want to be seen as someone that's working on myself. Let me share something from my past that is like trauma dumping, but not too much. Like, he's kind of being discerning about what he's putting on the table for Charity to kind of like be able to judge him, understand him, evaluate him by. That's very common in the beginning of dating when you are presenting a version of yourself. It's just very interesting to me, because I think Charity is a person that really embraces someone being a little bit like, I don't, like a way of saying, kind of like Brayden. Like, the way that Brayden is doing it is a little bit like his enthusiasm comes across as being a little bit crass at times, but she likes how he's just so in his emotions as he's displaying it.
Yeah,
Aaron B doesn't have that at all. Like, he's very in his body.
Yeah, that's really well said. That's a good comparison. Like, even for all the things we don't like about Brayden, and we'll get to him in a second, at least Brayden, you can tell he is just really, he's just, whatever he's thinking, he's spitting it out. Like, it is very unfiltered in a way that I think Aaron B is much more like, I am saying the thing that I've seen other popular kids in high school, like, this is what popular people say, and I will say it too. And so it feels, that's what I mean when I say, like, it feels like very high school to me, but I completely agree with you that it is common in the beginning parts of dating, but it's not something that, especially for someone like Charity, it's not something that is gonna help someone really get to know you and really fall for you, because, you know, people people are attracted to vulnerability. And that's the thing. It's like that's the part that Charity really clung to on their date, was she really liked the part where he started kind of talking about some of the things in his past that like were less perfect, because people kind of like seeing some of those imperfections, right? People resonate with that stuff. That's the stuff that people are more likely to relate to. And so putting on kind of that like perfect like cookie cutter front, I think tends to do us more of a disservice. Maybe it'll make you, you know, socially popular in a group setting, but in terms of like a one-on-one and trying to get someone to really get to know you, I think it's almost like self-sabotaging in a certain way. But even as I say that, I mean, he got such a front runner treatment, right? Aaron B, like he was really given quite a positive edit there. I think he's like really being treated like, wow, this is a real great stand-up guy, really good potential partner for Charity, is the way his edit was really done. So despite everything I just said, I think that, you know, I can actually see him going pretty far with Charity, unless like he has a big swerve heel turn. But so far, I do think actually she seems to like him, or anyways, the edit made it seem like they have a good connection.
I agree. And for Aaron's lack of vulnerability, I think what he did choose to share with her on their first one-on-one solidified him as a person that Charity would be interested by, because I just think by nature of her profession, that shows like how she organizes her values, and she really likes working with people or being with people that are working on themselves. So for him to like give that right amount of information does set him on a good path, and for him to make it very far, he would have to do something where it shows like, I'm not putting on a front, I'm not doing any pretense, this is me. And if he serves that to her on a silver platter and she really feels connected to it, I do see him making it like very, very far.
Because Charity is a therapist, I wonder what it's like for her to interact with people, because I feel like it's becoming more, to your point, common for people to talk about their experiences with therapy, especially in the context of dating, because, you know, it's so important. It really helps people learn and unlearn the things that they need to in order to enter into relationships as their, I wouldn't say best selves, but as their most self-aware selves, and as, you know, the type of partner that can really navigate the complexities of being in a relationship, and therapy really supports that. And so it's great that people are talking about it so much, but I'm very curious for Charity, like as a therapist, you know, when Aaron B brought up, like, I went to therapy, wow, I'm so brave for it. In my head, I was kind of like, well, Charity is literally a therapist. It's not that brave to her, right? Because, like,
yeah,
you know what I mean?
It's like literally like the barrier for entry to be considered as a partner for Charity. It's like minimum therapy.
So I did have that thought of like, is it so impressive for Charity that he went to therapy? I don't know. I'm not sure. I mean, she did seem to be happy that he opened up. And he even said this thing of like, it's being open with you is really easy. It's been really hard for me in the past. I've never been this open with someone. And in my head, I was just kind of thinking, well, one, your date wasn't that connective so far. So I don't know why. I was a little bit like, I don't know why. Like, nothing that they had set up in their conversations had set it up to be like, this is a great, safe and connective space to talk. So part of me was a little bit like, I don't know why he would randomly feel so open with her. But then I was like, well, she's literally a therapist. Like, maybe she just gives off that energy. And then that just made me think, like, well, if he's never been open in a relationship before, like, does he have any real experience in a healthy relationship? He shared kind of like some bare minimum information about himself, and then was like, wow, I've never been so open before. And so I was like, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, it just made me think, like, is Charity going to end up having to, like, be a therapist for this guy if they were to be in a relationship? Do you know what I mean? Like,
yes,
because Charity is so advanced in this regard. Like, she's so advanced in the process of being emotionally open and in the process of being, doing that inner work. It's something that's so normal for her versus for Aaron B. He's still kind of in the place of like, isn't it brave that I did this? Like, I was kind of like, maybe they're on different levels to some extent.
I was thinking about like Charity's backstory. She has traditionally been with men that have not appreciated her. I think the last person was like marked by a lot of infidelity. So she is also struggling with that like level of trust. And I hope that like in this season, she's able to choose a partner that can really elevate her versus just kind of like heal and learn from. And I think Aaron B might be a little bit of that, because it's like...
That's such a good point.
And if that's what he's going to offer, then like I don't want that for her. But I do think that for both of them, it's like a really good opportunity for us to see like if Charity's really able to see him for what the connection is and be like, wow, like he could be an amazing partner. He could be a great boyfriend at one point of my life. But for a husband, maybe this is not what I'm looking for. So there's like this new level of discernment that I'm excited to see Charity apply, because she's a therapist. I don't think there's ever been a lead that has worked in the mental health profession. So I'm very curious about like her choices this season.
It's so good to be with a partner who challenges you and who pulls you forward. And I don't really get the sense that Aaron is in a place where he's able to challenge Charity or like pull Charity forward. Like Charity does really seem just like in a more in a further place in her journey of self-discovery maybe than Aaron is. And so I agree that I would kind of want a different type of partner for her, someone who has something new to offer her, and I just don't know that Aaron B does just yet.
Great point. Yeah, so they would be a very validating relationship for each other. It's not going to be super growth oriented, but I'm curious what you guys think. Like, do you like Aaron B and Charity together? Do you think that our theory is correct? Do you think we're reading too much into it? Let us know in the comments down below.
Us reading too much into a scene in The Bachelor?
Us analyzing it too much? That can't be us.
No way. We would never.